The alarm bells rang through the massive space station called Nexus Prime. Red lights flashed in every hallway as beings from 12 different worlds rushed to the emergency meeting room. The room was huge, with seats arranged in a perfect circle. Each seat was made for a different type of alien body. Ambassador Kyung-ho walked slowly into the room. He was human, about 50 years old, with gray hair and calm eyes. His dark blue uniform had the Earth symbol on the chest. He moved quietly to his seat while other aliens talked loudly around him. High Arbiter Velthanis stood at the center of the room. She was tall and thin with blue skin that seemed to glow. Her people, the Cathari, had been leading the Galactic Council for over 300 years. She raised her forearms to get everyone's attention. "Friends of the galaxy," she said in a voice that sounded like music, "we face our greatest threat in 500 years. The Vextar swarm has destroyed 3 star systems. They eat everything, planets, moons, even the stars themselves. They must be stopped." War Chief Grexmore slammed his huge fist on his table. He was twice the size of a human, with thick gray skin and sharp teeth. His people, the Elgarians, loved war and fighting. "The Vextar are like insects," he growled. "We crush them with our ships, simple." Ambassador Kyung-ho said nothing. He just listened and watched. Other aliens in the room made different sounds of agreement. Some clicked, some hummed, and some made noises humans had never heard before. Velthanis touched a button and a big screen appeared in the air above them. It showed pictures of dead worlds, black empty planets where nothing lived anymore. "This is what the Vextar leave behind," she said. Nothing. Not even dirt remains. The room became quiet. Even Grexmore stopped talking. "We need the biggest fleet in galactic history," Velthanis continued. "Every world must send their best ships. Every species must help fight this enemy." One by one, the aliens began to speak. The Cathari promised 50 of their huge warships called dreadnoughts. Each ship was 3 kilometers long and had weapons that could destroy a moon. The Elgarians offered 30 battlecruisers filled with their strongest warriors. The peaceful Lyrians, who looked like tall plants with golden leaves, said they would send 20 support ships to help wounded soldiers. The Zephyrians promised their fastest scout ships. The rock-like granites said they would send their strongest defense vessels. Even the small pixie people offered their tiny but very fast fighters. Ambassador Kyung-ho listened to each promise. The fleet was growing bigger and bigger. Soon they would have over 200 ships. It would be the largest military force ever put together in the galaxy. Then all eyes turned to him. Velthanis looked at the human with her large, bright eyes. "Ambassador Kyung-ho," she said, "what does Earth promise to send?" The room became very quiet. Everyone wanted to hear what the humans would offer. Humans had joined the galactic community only 50 years ago. They were still new, but they had proven they were smart and brave. Many aliens expected humans to send many ships too. Kyung-ho stood up slowly. He looked around the room at all the different faces watching him. Some had big eyes, some had no eyes at all. Some breathed air, others breathed different gases. But they all waited for his answer. "The Terran Federation will send 1 ship," he said clearly. The room exploded with noise. Aliens jumped up from their seats. Grexmore roared with anger. Velthanis looked shocked. Small aliens made high-pitched sounds of surprise. "1 ship?" shouted Grexmore. "1 ship against the Vextar swarm? Are humans cowards?" Other aliens began talking at the same time. "This is not enough," said one. "The humans must do more," said another. "How can 1 ship help?" asked a third. Velthanis raised her arms again. "Please, everyone be quiet." The noise slowly stopped. She looked at Kyung-ho with confusion. "Ambassador, surely you mean 100 ships? Or maybe 1,000? Kyung-ho shook his head. "No, 1 ship. That is what Earth will send, but why?" asked a small alien with 6 arms. "The Vextar have millions of bioships. 1 human ship cannot fight so many." "Are your people afraid?" asked another alien with a voice like breaking glass. Kyung-ho remained calm. He had expected this reaction. "My people are not afraid. We will send 1 ship because 1 ship is what we choose to send." Grexmore stood up. He was so big his head almost touched the ceiling. "This is an insult. The Vextar threaten everyone. Every world must give their best effort. Humans think they are too good to help?" "We will help," Kyung-ho said simply. "With 1 ship." Velthanis tried to keep peace in the room. "Ambassador, perhaps you need to talk to your leaders again. Maybe they do not understand how dangerous the Vextar are." "My leaders understand perfectly," Kyung-ho replied. They have studied the Vextar for many months. They know exactly what needs to be done. Then why only one ship? Demanded an alien that looked like a floating jellyfish. Kyung-ho looked around the room one more time. Every alien face showed anger, confusion, or disappointment. He had known this would happen. His orders from Earth had been very clear about what to say and what not to say. I cannot give you more details, he said. But I promise you this. The human ship will do its job. What job can one ship do? Asked Grexmore with a laugh that sounded like rocks falling. Die bravely? That is all? Perhaps, said Kyung-ho. We will see. Velthanis looked frustrated. Ambassador, the combined fleet will have over 200 ships. Adding one more ship will not help much. But if humans send more ships, it could make a real difference. One ship, Kyung-ho said again. That is final. The room erupted in angry voices again. Some aliens called humans selfish. Others said humans were useless allies. A few suggested that humans should be removed from the Galactic Council. Kyung-ho listened to all the insults without changing his expression. He had heard worse things before. When humans first joined the galactic community, many aliens had thought humans were weak and primitive. Time had proven them wrong. The meeting is finished for me, Kyung-ho announced. He picked up his papers and stood to leave. Wait, called Velthanis. We need to discuss battle plans, fleet formations, supply lines. How will your one ship fit into our strategy? Kyung-ho stopped at the door. It will not fit into your strategy. Our ship will follow its own mission. What mission? Asked several aliens at once. That information is classified, Kyung-ho said. But I will tell you this. When the fighting is over, you will understand why we sent only one ship. With those words, he walked out of the room. Behind him, the aliens continued to argue loudly. Some demanded that humans be forced to send more ships. Others suggested the fleet should leave without human help. As Kyung-ho walked through the corridors of Nexus Prime, he thought about his orders from Earth. The message had been simple but clear. Tell them we are sending one ship. Do not explain why. Do not give details about the ship's capabilities. Let them think what they want. He reached his private quarters and sent a message back to Earth. Mission accomplished. The Council believes we are sending insufficient help. They do not suspect the truth. The reply came quickly. Good. Maintain secrecy at all costs. The success of the entire operation depends on surprise. Kyung-ho deleted both messages and sat down to wait. Soon, the galaxy would learn what human engineering could really do. Soon, they would understand why sometimes the best answer to an impossible problem was not to send 1,000 ships. Sometimes, you only needed to send the right ship. Fleet Admiral So-jin walked through the underground tunnels beneath Seoul. The walls were made of thick metal and concrete. Guard robots scanned her as she passed each checkpoint. Her footsteps echoed in the empty hallways. She was 45 years old with short black hair and sharp eyes. 3 stars on her uniform showed her high rank. She had commanded fleets in 3 different wars, but never a mission like this one. The elevator took her down 50 floors below the surface. When the doors opened, she saw a room full of scientists working at computers. They all wore white coats and looked very serious. Dr. Han-Wool came to meet her. He was a thin man with thick glasses who always looked worried. He carried a tablet in his hands and walked quickly. Admiral, he said with a small bow, everything is ready for your briefing. Good, So-jin replied. I want to know exactly what I am commanding. Dr. Han-Wool led her to a secure room with no windows. Inside, a large table showed a 3-dimensional picture of a spaceship. The ship looked different from other human vessels. It was sleek and dark like a knife blade. This is the Indomitable, Dr. Han-Wool said. He touched the table and the ship image began to turn slowly. It is 800 meters long, much smaller than alien dreadnoughts. So-jin studied the ship carefully. It looks fast. It is more than fast, Dr. Han-Wool said with excitement in his voice. It is the most advanced ship ever built by humans. We took technology from 12 different alien species and combined them in ways no one else thought possible. The door opened and Captain Min-ho entered. He was So-jin's second in command and her most trusted friend. They had served together for 15 years. He was shorter than So-jin but had the same sharp eyes. Captain, So-jin said, ready for a briefing that will change everything you know about human technology? Min-ho smiled. I am always ready to learn something impossible, Admiral. Dr. Han-Wool touched the table again. The ship image changed to show the inside. The Indomitable has 6 different types of engines. Chemical rockets for normal space, ion drives for long trips, fusion pulse drives for high speed, and 3 types that other species think are impossible. What types? Sojin asked. Quantum tunneling drives that can move through solid matter, dimensional phase shifters that can make the ship exist in 2 places at once, and temporal displacement engines that can move the ship slightly backward or forward in time. Minho stared at the image. Time travel? That is really possible? Only a few seconds, Dr. Hanwol said quickly. But in a space battle, a few seconds can change everything. Sojin nodded. She had seen battles won and lost in moments. What about weapons? The ship image changed again. No traditional weapons, Dr. Hanwol said. No lasers, no missiles, no plasma cannons. Then how does it fight? Minho asked. It does not fight. It solves problems. Dr. Hanwol looked very proud. The Indomitable carries quantum entanglement disruptors. They can break the connections between particles across any distance. If something uses quantum communication, we can stop it. So Jin began to understand. The Vextar use a hive mind. They communicate through quantum entanglement across their entire species. Exactly, Dr. Hanwol said. While other species plan to fight the Vextar ships, we plan to fight their ability to work together. Captain Minho looked confused. But surely the aliens have thought of this too. Dr. Hanwol shook his head. No, other species think in straight lines. They see an enemy fleet, they send a bigger fleet. They see weapons, they build stronger weapons. Humans think differently. We think around problems instead of through them, Sojin said. She had heard this phrase many times in military school. The Indomitable also carries something else, Dr. Hanwol continued. A complete map of every quantum communication network in the galaxy. We have been secretly studying alien technology for 50 years. Sojin raised an eyebrow. Secretly? Yes. Every time an alien ship visited Earth, we scanned it. Every piece of technology they sold us, we took apart and studied. Every alliance we made, we learned their science. We have been preparing for a threat like the Vextar since we joined the galactic community. Minho sat down heavily in a chair. So we have been spying on our allies for 50 years? Not spying, Dr. Hanwol said. Learning. There is a difference. We never used the knowledge to hurt anyone. We just wanted to be ready to help when the time came. So Jin studied the ship plans more carefully. How many people does it need? 50 crew members. All volunteers. All sworn to secrecy. They have been training for 2 years on a simulator. Only 50 people to operate the most advanced ship in the galaxy. Human technology focuses on automation and artificial intelligence. The ship can almost fly itself. The crew is there for decisions that require human thinking. The Admiral walked around the table, looking at the ship from every angle. When do we launch? Tonight. From the hidden shipyard on the far side of the moon. No one knows it exists except the people in this room and a few others. Minho stood up. What about the rest of the human fleet? Our colonies have hundreds of ships. Dr. Hanwol smiled for the first time during the meeting. They will be busy with Protocol 7. What is Protocol 7? Sojin asked. Every human colony has been secretly building automated defense platforms, small, hidden unmanned stations with the same quantum disruptors as the Indomitable. When we activate Protocol 7, thousands of these platforms will come online at the same time. Sojin felt a chill run down her spine. Thousands? Yes, we have been building them for 20 years. They are hidden in asteroid belts around dead planets in empty space between stars. The Vextar will not see them coming. Captain Minho shook his head slowly. The other species have no idea what humans have been doing. No, Dr. Hanwol agreed. They think we are still primitive compared to them. They think we need their protection. They have no idea that we have been preparing to protect them. Sojin felt pride and worry at the same time. This is a huge risk. If we fail, the Vextar will destroy everything. If we succeed but the other species find out we have been hiding our technology, they might see us as a threat. That is why the mission is secret, Dr. Hanwol said. If we succeed, we will share the credit with the Allied fleet. We will let them think their ships helped defeat the Vextar. Humans will appear to be just one part of a larger victory. And if we fail, then it will not matter what anyone thinks. So Jin made her decision. I will take the mission. When do I meet my crew? They are already aboard the Indomitable waiting for you. The ship is ready to launch as soon as you give the order. Minho stepped forward. Admiral, are you sure about this? 50 people against a swarm that has destroyed 3 star systems? So-Jin looked at her friend with confidence. Captain, I have learned to trust human engineering. We may not be the strongest or the fastest species in the galaxy, but we are the best at finding solutions no one else considers. Plus, Dr. Hanwol added, we are not really 50 people against the Vextar. We are 50 people coordinating with thousands of hidden weapons platforms across human space. The Indomitable is not just a ship. It is the command center for the largest hidden military network in galactic history. So-Jin picked up her orders from the table. The papers were stamped with the highest security clearance. One more question, why me? Why not someone younger or more experienced with new technology? Dr. Hanwol looked serious. Because this mission requires more than following orders. It requires making decisions that no one has ever had to make before. You are known for thinking creatively under pressure. That is exactly what this mission needs. The Admiral nodded. Then let us go make galactic history. As they left the briefing room, Dr. Hanwol handed her one more tablet. Admiral, these are the real mission parameters. What Ambassador Kyung-ho told the Council was only part of the truth. So-Jin read the tablet as they walked to the transport ship. Her eyes widened as she understood the full scope of the mission. The Indomitable was not just going to fight the Vextar. It was going to do something that had never been attempted before in galactic history, something that would change how every species thought about war, peace, and what it meant to be part of a galactic community. She looked up at Dr. Hanwol. This is either the most brilliant plan ever created, or the most dangerous. With humans, he replied, it is usually both. The Helio system looked like a nightmare. Commander Jiwoo stared at the main screen aboard the Indomitable as they arrived at the edge of the system. What she saw made her stomach feel sick. 3 planets that used to be green and blue were now black and gray. The Vextar had been feeding on them for weeks. Huge bioships that looked like living creatures surrounded each planet. They were not built like normal spaceships. They grew like plants or animals. How many ships do you count? Admiral So-Jin asked from her command chair. Over 3,000 bioships around the planets, Jiwoo replied. She was 28 years old and the best tactical officer in the human fleet. Her job was to understand enemy movements and find weaknesses. More ships are coming from deep space. Maybe 10,000 total. Captain Minho stood next to the Admiral. The Allied fleet has 200 ships. Even if every Allied ship destroyed 50 Vextar ships, we would still lose. Engineer Tae-hyun looked up from his control panel. He was responsible for keeping all the ship's experimental technology working. Admiral, the quantum disruptors are ready, but I'm not sure they will work the way Dr. Hanwol predicted. Why not? So-Jin asked. The Vextar hive mind is more complex than we thought. They are not just using quantum entanglement for communication. They are using it for everything. Thinking, memory, emotion, even controlling their bioships. Admiral So-Jin studied the tactical display. The Vextar formation was perfect. Too perfect. Every ship was in exactly the right position. No wasted movement. No confusion. It was like watching a single creature with thousands of parts. There, she said, pointing at the screen. Do you see how they move? Commander Jiwoo looked more carefully. They move like a school of fish, or a flock of birds. Perfect coordination, exactly. No individual ship is making its own decisions. They are all parts of one mind. The communication system activated. Admiral Velthanis appeared on the screen. Behind her, Jiwoo could see the bridge of a Kethari dreadnought. It was huge, with blue lights everywhere. Admiral So-Jin, Velthanis said, the Allied fleet is ready to attack. Where is your ship? We do not see you on our sensors, So-Jin looked at Tae-hyun. Phase shifting is working perfectly, Admiral, he said quietly. We exist slightly outside normal space. They cannot detect us. We are here, So-Jin told Velthanis, but we are not ready to join your attack yet. Not ready? War Chief Grexmore's voice came over the communication. The battle begins in 1 hour. What is your ship doing? We are studying the enemy, So-Jin replied calmly. Studying? Grexmore sounded angry. This is not school. This is war. You study by fighting. Admiral So-Jin remained calm. We fight by understanding. Give us more time. The communication ended. Through the main screen, Jiwoo could see the Allied fleet forming into attack formation. Kethari dreadnoughts moved to the front. Bulgarian battle cruisers spread out on the sides. Smaller ships prepared to support the bigger ones. They are using traditional fleet tactics, Jiwoo observed. Big ships in front, small ships in back. Concentrate firepower on enemy weak points. Will it work? Captain Minho asked. Against a normal enemy, yes, So Jin said. But the Vextar are not normal. Watch what happens when the battle starts. The Allied fleet began its attack. Hundreds of energy beams and missiles flew toward the Vextar bioships. The first wave of weapons hit their targets. Several Vextar ships exploded in bright flashes. But then something strange happened. The remaining Vextar ships began to change. They moved differently. They formed new patterns. It was like they had learned from watching the first attack. Did you see that? Taehyun asked with excitement. They adapted. In real time. The Vextar counterattack was devastating. Their bioships fired living projectiles that moved like snakes through space. The projectiles avoided the Allied ships' defense systems and hit targets the aliens had not expected to be vulnerable. 3 Cathari dreadnoughts exploded. 5 Bulgarian cruisers were badly damaged. The Allied fleet began to pull back. They are learning our tactics as fast as we use them, Jiwoo said with worry in her voice. Admiral Sojin nodded. This is what I was afraid of. The hive mind does not just coordinate their ships. It studies their enemies and adapts instantly. The communication system activated again. This time Velthanis looked desperate. Admiral Sojin, we need your help now. We are losing ships faster than we can destroy theirs. Not yet, Sojin said. If we attack now, they will learn our technology too. We need to wait for the right moment. What right moment? Grexmore roared. Half our fleet will be destroyed soon. The moment when they think they have won, Sojin replied. She ended the communication and turned to her crew. Jiwoo, I need you to map every quantum communication signal in this system. Not just between the Vextar ships. Between the ships and something else. Something else? The hive mind is not located on the ships. It is somewhere else. The ships are just like hands and feet controlled by a brain. We need to find the brain. Jiwoo worked quickly at her station. Numbers and patterns filled her screens. Admiral, there are quantum signals going beyond this system. The Vextar ships are connected to something very far away. How far? At least 50 light years? Maybe more. The signals are being relayed through quantum entanglement networks across multiple star systems. Captain Minho understood first. The hive mind is not just controlling the ships in this system. It is controlling Vextar everywhere in the galaxy. Exactly, Sojin said. That is why they are so coordinated. That is why they adapt so quickly. Every Vextar in the galaxy shares the same mind. Taehyun looked up from his controls. Admiral, if that is true, then our quantum disruptors might do more than stop the ships in this system. They might affect the entire Vextar species. Admiral Sojin felt the weight of that responsibility. Stopping a fleet was one thing. Affecting an entire species was something else completely. The Allied fleet was retreating now. More ships had been destroyed. The survivors looked damaged and beaten. The Vextar bioships followed them but did not pursue aggressively. They seemed to be studying the retreating ships, learning even more. Admiral, Jiwoo said urgently, I am detecting something new. The Vextar are sending signals to other systems. They are calling for reinforcements. How many reinforcements? Hundreds of thousands of bioships. Maybe millions. They are coming from every Vextar-controlled system in the galaxy. The main screen showed new contacts appearing at the edge of sensor range. More Vextar fleets were arriving. The 3,000 ships in the system were just the beginning. Captain Minho looked pale. Even if every species in the galaxy sent their entire fleets, we could not fight that many ships. Admiral Sojin stood up from her command chair. Then it is time to stop thinking like everyone else thinks. Taehyun, prepare the quantum disruptors. Target the communication network, not the ships. Admiral, Taehyun said carefully. If we disrupt their quantum network, we might cut off the hive mind from all Vextar everywhere. We do not know what that will do to them. I know, Sojin said quietly. But if we do nothing, they will destroy every world in the galaxy. Sometimes the right choice is not the safe choice. She opened a communication to the Allied fleet. All ships, this is Admiral Sojin. Retreat to minimum safe distance. We are beginning our attack. About time, Grexmore replied. But one ship cannot do what 200 ships could not do. Admiral Sojin looked at her crew. They all looked back at her with trust and determination. Taehyun, activate phase shift. Take us into the middle of the Vextar formation. Yes, Admiral. The Indomitable began to shimmer and fade. It shifted slightly out of normal space-time. To the Vextar ships, it simply disappeared. Jiwoo, guide us to the center of their communication network. Coordinates locked in. Admiral, the ship moved through the Vextar formation like a ghost. The bioships could not see them or touch them. The Indomitable passed between enemy vessels without being detected. We are in position, Jiwoo reported. Admiral So-jin took a deep breath. Taehyun, activate quantum disruptors. Target the network connections between this fleet and the rest of the Vextar species. Disruptors active. Targeting quantum entanglement nodes. On the screen, nothing seemed to happen at first. Then slowly, the Vextar ships began to move differently. Their perfect coordination started to break down. Ships bumped into each other. Formation patterns fell apart. It is working, Captain Minho said with amazement. But Admiral So-jin knew this was just the beginning. Taehyun, send the activation signal. What signal? Jiwoo asked. So-jin smiled. Protocol 7. Across human space, thousands of hidden platforms came online at the same moment. Each platform began broadcasting quantum disruption signals. The invisible network that connected all Vextar everywhere started to break apart. Now, Admiral So-jin said, we see if humans really understand how to solve impossible problems. Lieutenant Da-eun watched her communication screens with growing excitement. Signals were coming from everywhere in human space. Admiral, Protocol 7 is fully active. All hidden platforms are online and broadcasting. Admiral So-jin stood behind Da-eun's station, watching the data flow across multiple screens. Numbers showed quantum disruption fields activating across dozens of star systems. How many platforms total? 15,467 platforms, Da-eun replied. All operating perfectly. The effect on the Vextar was immediate and dramatic. The bioships in the Helios system began moving in confused patterns. Some ships flew in circles. Others crashed into each other. The perfect coordination was breaking down. Dr. Seung-woo looked up from his science station. He was the ship's expert on alien biology and had studied the Vextar for months. Admiral, the individual bioships are trying to think for themselves, but they have never had to do that before. Explain, Captain Minho said. Imagine if your hands suddenly had to decide what to do without your brain telling them. The Vextar ships are like hands without a brain to guide them. On the main screen, they could see the Allied fleet watching in amazement. The Vextar formation was falling apart completely. Ships that had been attacking moments before were now floating helplessly in space. Admiral Velthanis appeared on the communication screen. Her blue face showed complete confusion. Admiral So-jin, what is happening? The Vextar ships have stopped attacking. Some of them are just sitting there doing nothing. We cut their communication network, So-jin explained simply. How? We have been trying to disrupt their communications for hours with no effect. You were trying to jam their signals. We disconnected their network completely. War Chief Grexmore's voice came over the communication. If their communications are down, this is the perfect time to attack and destroy them all. No, So-jin said firmly. Do not attack them yet. Why not? Grexmore demanded. They are helpless. We can destroy their entire fleet. Admiral So-jin looked at Dr. Seung-woo. He nodded, understanding what she was thinking. Because we are not sure what disconnecting their hive mind did to them. They might not be enemies anymore. Not enemies? Velthanis sounded shocked. They destroyed 3 star systems. They killed billions of people. They did that as a hive mind, So-jin said. Now they are individuals. We need to find out what individual Vextar are like. Lieutenant Da-eun spoke up urgently. Admiral, I am receiving new signals. Not from our platforms. From the Vextar ships themselves. What kind of signals? They are trying to communicate, but not with each other. With us. Everyone on the bridge became very quiet. Engineer Taehyun stopped working and looked up. They want to talk to us? It appears so, Da-eun said. The signals are very basic. Mathematical sequences. Prime numbers. Universal constants. The same signal species use for first contact. Dr. Seung-woo stood up with excitement. Admiral, I think they are confused and scared. Imagine being part of a group mind your entire life, then suddenly being alone in your own head for the first time. Admiral So-jin made a decision that would change galactic history. Da-eun, open a communication channel to the nearest Vextar ship. Admiral, Captain Minho said with worry. That could be very dangerous. Yes, it could be, So-jin agreed. But it could also be the most important conversation in galactic history. The main screen changed to show the inside of a Vextar bioship. What they saw surprised everyone. The ship was not full of monsters or machines. It was full of creatures that looked almost plant-like, with soft green skin and large, gentle eyes. One of the creatures moved closer to their communication device. It made soft musical sounds like wind through trees. Dr. Sung-woo worked quickly at his translation computer. Admiral, the computer is trying to translate, but this is completely different from any Vextar communication we have recorded before. Different how? Before, all Vextar communications were commands from the hive mind. Orders to move, attack, consume. These new signals are questions. What kind of questions? Where am I? What am I? Who am I? They are asking basic questions about existence. The Vextar creature on the screen made more musical sounds. This time, the translation computer had partial success. Alone, scared. What happened to the voice? Admiral So-jin felt a mix of excitement and responsibility. They called the hive mind the voice. Now that it is gone, they are experiencing individual consciousness for the first time. Lieutenant Da-yoon looked up from her station. Admiral, more Vextar ships are trying to communicate. Hundreds of them. They are all asking similar questions. Answer them, So-jin said. Tell them they are safe. Tell them we are friends. Captain Minho looked concerned. Admiral, are you sure this is wise? We still do not know if they are truly peaceful now. Look at them, So-jin said, pointing to the screen. The Vextar creature looked confused and frightened, like a lost child. They are not acting like conquerors. They are acting like beings who have just been born. Dr. Sung-woo began transmitting basic information to the Vextar ships, simple concepts about peace, friendship, and safety. The response was immediate. The bioships began moving toward the Indomitable, but slowly and carefully, like curious animals approaching something new. The Allied fleet was watching all of this with complete confusion. Admiral Velthanis appeared on screen again. Admiral So-jin, what is happening? Why are the Vextar ships moving toward you? Are they attacking? No, So-jin said. They are trying to understand what happened to them. We need to help them. Help them? Grexmore's voice was full of anger. They are our enemies. We should destroy them while they are weak. They were our enemies when they had a hive mind that made them consume everything, So-jin explained. Now they are individuals who have never experienced individual thought before. They need guidance, not destruction. Admiral So-jin opened a channel to all ships in the Allied fleet. All vessels, this is Admiral So-jin. Do not attack the Vextar ships. I repeat, do not attack. They are no longer hostile. How can you be sure? Asked a captain from one of the smaller ships. Because humans have learned something that other species sometimes forget. People can change. Situations can change. Yesterday's enemy can become tomorrow's friend if you give them the chance. The Vextar creature on the main screen was learning to use the translation system. Its words became clearer. Thank you for stopping the pain. The voice hurt us, made us do terrible things. We did not want to hurt anyone. Dr. Sung-woo translated the creature's words for the Allied fleet. The reaction was immediate. Many aliens began to understand what had really happened. You mean the Vextar were being controlled? Velthanis asked. They were not evil by choice? That is what we believe, So-jin said. The hive mind forced them to consume worlds. Individual Vextar appear to be peaceful by nature. Engineer Taehyun spoke up from his station. Admiral, I am detecting something important. The quantum disruption is not permanent. The Vextar communication network is trying to reconnect itself. Admiral So-jin felt her heart race. How long do we have? Maybe a few hours before the hive mind regains control of them. The Vextar creature on screen heard this and became very frightened. No, please. Do not let the voice return. The voice makes us hurt people. We do not want to hurt anyone. Admiral So-jin made another historic decision. Taehyun, prepare for continuous disruption. We are going to keep their network disconnected permanently. Admiral, Captain Minho said quietly. That will require enormous amounts of power. Our hidden platforms can do it, but it will be a constant effort for years, maybe decades. Then that is what we will do, So-jin said firmly. Lieutenant Da-eun, send a message to Earth. Tell them we need Protocol 7 to become a permanent operation. Da-eun sent the message and received a reply quickly. Admiral, Earth confirms. All hidden platforms will maintain continuous disruption of the Vextar hive mind network. The operation is now classified as a permanent humanitarian mission. The Vextar creature began making happy musical sounds. Other creatures appeared on the screen, all looking grateful and peaceful. Admiral Velthanis spoke with wonder in her voice. Admiral Sojin, you have not just defeated the Vextar threat. You have freed an entire species from slavery to a hive mind they could not escape. We have done something more important than winning a war, Sojin replied. We have turned enemies into friends. We have chosen to heal instead of destroy. War Chief Grexmore was quiet for a long moment. When he finally spoke, his voice was different. Less angry, more thoughtful. This is not how Algarians fight wars, but maybe this is better than how we fight wars. Admiral Sojin looked around her bridge at her crew. They all looked proud but also tired. They had accomplished something that seemed impossible just hours before. Dayun, send a message to all Vextar ships. Tell them we will help them learn how to be individuals. Tell them they are welcome to join the galactic community as friends. The main screen filled with images from hundreds of Vextar bioships. Peaceful creatures who had been freed from a nightmare they could not escape alone. They were singing together, but now it was a song of joy instead of a song of conquest. Admiral Sojin had proven that sometimes the best way to solve an impossible problem was not to fight it. Admiral Sojin stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, looking at something no one had ever seen before. On the main screen, Vextar creatures were working together with alien engineers from the Allied fleet. They were not fighting. They were building. 3 weeks had passed since the disconnection of the hive mind. The individual Vextar had learned quickly how to think for themselves. They were gentle, curious, and very intelligent. They wanted to fix the damage they had caused while under the control of the hive mind. Admiral, Lieutenant Dayun reported, the Vextar have finished cleaning the atmosphere of the first planet. Life can grow there again. Captain Minho smiled as he watched the screen. They work faster than any construction crew in the galaxy. Those bioships can repair a planet in weeks instead of years. Dr. Sheng Wu looked up from his science station. Admiral, I have been studying the Vextar language and culture. They are natural builders and gardeners. The hive mind forced them to destroy, but their real nature is to create and nurture life. Engineer Taehyun nodded. Their bioships are not weapons. They are living tools designed to shape worlds and build environments where life can flourish. The hive mind corrupted their purpose. The communication system activated. Ambassador Kyung Ho appeared on screen from the Galactic Council station. He looked very pleased. Admiral Sojin, the Council wants to thank you personally. Your actions have not only saved the galaxy from the Vextar threat, but also created the newest members of our galactic community. How are the other species accepting the Vextar? Sojin asked. Better than we hoped. The Ketheri are fascinated by Vextar biotechnology. The Algarians respect their strength and work ethic. The Lyrians love their natural understanding of growing things. Even the smaller species have found ways to work with them. Admiral Sojin felt proud but also curious. Ambassador, there is something I need to know. How long has Earth been planning for a situation like this? Kyung Ho smiled. A very long time, Admiral. When humans first joined the galactic community, we realized something important. We were not the strongest species or the fastest or the most advanced, but we had something unique. What was that? The ability to see solutions instead of problems. Other species see threats and respond with bigger threats. Humans see threats and ask, how can we turn this into something better? Captain Minho leaned forward. So sending one ship was always the plan? Not exactly, Kyung Ho said. We prepared for many different possibilities. But yes, we always believed that the right solution applied precisely would be more effective than overwhelming force applied blindly. The communication switched to show High Arbiter Velthanis. Her blue face showed respect and gratitude. Admiral Sojin, I must ask you something. Did humans always know that the Vextar were being controlled by a hive mind against their will? No, Sojin said honestly. We suspected that their coordination was too perfect to be natural. But we did not know they were slaves to their own communication network until we studied them in battle. Then how did you know that disconnecting their network would help instead of hurt them? Admiral Sojin thought carefully before answering. We did not know for certain, but humans have learned something from our own history. Sometimes people do terrible things not because they are evil, but because they are forced to by circumstances beyond their control. We thought it was worth trying to free them instead of destroying them. War Chief Grexmore appeared on screen next. The big alien looked different than before. Less angry, more thoughtful. Admiral, Algarians have always believed that strength comes from defeating enemies. You have taught us that sometimes strength comes from making enemies into friends. We learned that lesson ourselves the hard way, Sojin replied. Humans fought many wars against each other before we learned to work together. We thought other species might be able to learn the same lesson. The screen switched to show Ambassador Kyung-ho again. Admiral, the Council has made a decision. They want to know more about human technology and methods. They are asking if Earth would be willing to share some of our problem-solving techniques. Admiral So-jin looked at her crew. They all nodded. We would be happy to share what we know. But I hope the Council understands that human methods do not work because of special technology. They work because of how we think about problems, and can you explain that? Other species see a problem and ask, how do we defeat it? Humans see a problem and ask, how do we solve it? Sometimes defeating is the answer. Sometimes solving is better. Lieutenant Dae-yoon spoke up. Admiral, I am receiving a message from the Vextar Collective Council. Collective Council? Dr. Sung-woo explained. The individual Vextar have formed a democratic council to represent their species. They choose their leaders instead of being controlled by a hive mind. The screen showed a group of Vextar creatures sitting around a living table that seemed to grow from the floor of their bioship. One of them spoke with the musical voice they had learned to translate. Admiral So-jin, we want to thank you for giving us the gift of choice. For the first time in our species' history, we can decide for ourselves what to do and who to be. What will you do now? So-jin asked. We will fix what we broke. We will help the worlds we damaged to grow healthy again. And we will learn how to be good neighbors in the galaxy. Another Vextar creature added. We also want to offer our biotechnology to help other species. Our ships can grow food, clean polluted air, and build homes that live and grow with their inhabitants. Engineer Tae-hyun looked excited. Admiral, imagine what we could accomplish if we combined human engineering with Vextar biotechnology. Captain Minho nodded. And Cathari energy systems, and Ulgarian metallurgy, and Lyrian agricultural knowledge. That is exactly what the galaxy needs, Admiral So-jin said. Cooperation instead of competition, sharing instead of hoarding, building instead of destroying. Ambassador Kyung-ho reappeared on screen. Admiral, I have one final question from the Council. They want to know if this is how humans always approach impossible problems. Admiral So-jin thought about all the human missions she had commanded over the years. The rescue operations, the exploration missions, the diplomatic challenges. In each case, humans had succeeded not by being stronger than the problem, but by being smarter. Yes, she said finally, this is how humans think. We believe that every problem has a solution if you look at it from the right angle. Sometimes the solution is force. Sometimes it is technology. Sometimes it is simply understanding. And sometimes, Captain Minho added, the solution is recognizing that your enemy is not really your enemy. The screen switched one more time to show Admiral Velthanis. Admiral So-jin, the Council has voted unanimously. From now on, when the galaxy faces threats that seem impossible to solve, we will ask humans to help us think about them differently. We would be honored to help. So-jin replied. But I hope the Council remembers that humans do not have all the answers. We just try to ask different questions. What questions do humans ask? Admiral So-jin looked around her bridge at her crew, then at the screen showing Vextar and aliens working together to heal damaged worlds. We ask, what if this problem is actually an opportunity? What if this enemy is actually a friend who needs help? What if the solution is not to win, but to make everyone win? Engineer Tae-hyun spoke up from his station. Admiral, Earth is sending new orders. They want us to begin a new mission. What mission? Working with the Vextar to explore the galaxy and find other species that might need help. They want us to look for problems we can turn into opportunities. Admiral So-jin smiled. That sounds like the perfect mission for the Indomitable and its crew. As the ship prepared for its new mission, Admiral So-jin thought about the question that had started everything. Just one ship? Why did the humans only dispatch one? Now she knew the answer. Sometimes one ship is enough if it is the right ship with the right crew asking the right questions. Sometimes the best way to save the galaxy is not to fight for it, but to help it save itself. The Indomitable set course for the edge of known space, ready to find new problems that could become new solutions. Behind them, Vextar bioships worked alongside alien vessels to rebuild the worlds that had been damaged. The galaxy was learning that cooperation was stronger than conflict, and that understanding was more powerful than force. And in the hidden bases throughout human space, thousands of automated platforms continued their quiet work, maintaining the quantum disruption that kept the Vextar free to choose their own destiny. It was, Admiral Sojin thought exactly the kind of solution humans were best at finding. Not the obvious answer, but the right answer. Not the easiest path, but the path that led to a better future for everyone. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Sometimes the best way to defeat your enemies is to help them become your friends. And sometimes the most powerful weapon is not a gun or a bomb, but the simple decision to ask, how can we solve this together? Instead of how can we win this alone? As the Indomitable disappeared into hyperspace, carrying its crew toward new adventures and new opportunities to turn problems into solutions, the galaxy continued its work of healing and growing. And at the center of it all was the simple human idea that had changed everything. That every problem is also an opportunity.